Welcome back, Fractured Compass fans, to Take 5 Monster Edition. Today we are talking to...
My name is Michael Thrash Ornelis.
Now, what do you want to be going by, Michael or Thrash?
Thrash is good.
Thrash is good?
It always helps. Whenever anybody calls me Thrash, I know there's a very specific corner of the world that you know me from.
There you go. So today, because it is Monster Edition, we had been doing some weird snacks and some tasty snacks from various parts of around the world. Today, I decided to make them chocolate snacks. So I hope you like chocolate. Do you like chocolate, Thrash?
I do like chocolate.
Right. So Thrash, what haunt are you from?
I work at Knott's Scary Farm.
Right.
That's the haunt that I hail from currently.
Currently? All right. And what is your character, sir?
The current character I'm playing is Bo Vine. He is the rodeo cowboy, aka the Bull.
You cannot miss this guy. He's 10 feet tall in the fog.
Only 7.
So, with that, let's go ahead and try our first snack. And these are Icelandic chocolate. You just want to take one?
I would love to take one.
Go. This should be
Well,
delicious.
you like to bite right into it. Me, I like to let it melt on the palates there and let it sort of dissolve. Mmm.
So instead of water, I decided to mix it up today, and we are drinking root beer.
It's one of the only sodas I like.
Where did you start? Like, what is your haunt history? Did you start at Knott's or?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I was 17, and I was originally going to be a friendly monster. Passing out candy in Camp Spooky.
Oh, okay.
This is starting to date me, right? How many little flashback hands we need to make. And but then I got to this point where they were giving me a piece of paper for my high school to sign, and I said, well, what if I've already graduated? And they said, you need to show off some proof. So then I showed my diploma like this. And then they said, oh, well, technically you're not a minor anymore. And I was actually going to turn 18 in the month of October anyway. So they said, well, now we can work him during the night, but he's already past the monster section. I was already in the entertainment department talking with the leads. And I said, well, what else can I do? And they said, you can make him an usher. So I was actually an usher for my first 2 haunts.
Okay.
And I never went to a single scary farm prior to my first night of work.
Okay.
Because I think I saw the commercials and I was too scared. You know, I didn't want to go if it was going to be too intense for me. So that's how it started.
Same. In fact, my first Not Scary Farm, I didn't even go in a single maze.
You didn't?
I did not.
What did you do?
That's been a common thing.
I literally showed up and we just kind of walked around the areas and ate some food, and I would not go in a maze. But like, that was it.
But at least the ambiance is fun to look at, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I just came home terrified.
I'm still terrified. I'm still traumatized.
Traumatized with so many things back in the day. So what did you usher for?
So, it's funny because everybody says Michael's got this like clairvoyant brain where he remembers everything. I don't.
Oh, no.
However, in 2003, the shows that were performing at the time were Ed Alonzo's Ghouls Gone Wild 2 in the Charles M. Schultz Theater,
Okay.
Dr. Cleaver on the Move in the Birdcage Theater, Marty Putt's Prank Party in the Wagon Camp, Zamora's Sideshow of the Bazaar inside Camp Snoopy, Michael Mesmer, the Hypnotist, in the Boardwalk Ballroom. And I believe those were the 5 that the ushers would be scheduled for. The hanging doesn't need any ushers, but I do recall that year it was the hanging 2003 Curse of the Black Pearl Necklace.
Okay. So we know what was coming out in the theaters that year.
Yes, yeah. Oh, it was great. They had this huge Jolly Roger skull on the top of the barn, because that's where the old stage used to be. And it was doing the whole, like, you know, in for a politically incorrect show, says I.
Yeah.
You know.
I actually think I remember that vaguely.
Actually, yeah. These be the last politically correct words you hear. That's what he said. That's what he said. That was fun. That was a fun show to watch.
By the way, we should bring back some of those shows.
I do miss shows.
Currently.
scattered around the park.
And that's the plan. Not that I know anything about that.
Good thing.
But I mean,
but shows like that. Like,
well,
you know,
we I gotta tell you, coming up, not having been to a scary farm prior to my first night of work, And then knowing that I kind of missed out on the Elvira era made me a little sad, because I had all my trainers were talking to me and saying how they had met her and how cool she was. And I always liked Elvira, but I did not fall in love with her until I saw her at Haunt when she came back. There's a reason why she is Elvira. She is that good. And I had a Haunt pass, and so I got to see her with great audiences and bad audiences and mediocre, and she never misses a beat. Never misses a beat. And I just saw her work that crowd to the best of her ability, and I was mesmerized. I was so wowed. But we can either have, like, I don't know, it's like, I can take you to, you know, this crazy 5-star Gordon Ramsay restaurant, and I can order you one dish, or we can go to Olive Garden and get this family thing, and it's still going to be really, really good, but we can get more. Do you follow me?
No, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely understand what you're saying. And I loved Elvira's the queen. She'll always be the queen of Halloween, and I miss her. But she did take up a lot of the entertainment budget, I'm going to say, because it's Elvira and she's the queen. But at that point that we don't have her anymore, I'm like, and I know Ed Alonzo is doing something else now, but I'm like, where are the Ed Alonzos? Where are the hypnotists? Where are I know Camp Snoopy and even Carnival used to have little vignettes of like freaks, like the freak shows, and they had Possessed and Mystery Lodge. Now obviously that wasn't able to happen anymore with Infected being in there, and now with Mystery Lodge being its future being a little unknown.
Indefinite hiatus.
Yeah, so, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we can have the Olive Gardens now.
The family plan, there's 2 for $20. You want to get those?
And it would be just as good to me because it would add a little bit more atmosphere.
We have, at least from my perspective, because I work in entertainment year-round, the best team that I've ever seen working in the entertainment department at Knott's Berry Farm. And they all started taking over just a couple of years ago, and only now we're really starting to see these cool little blossoming moments and vignettes and things happening, you know? So they're trying. If they could move mountains, they could, but they're doing it one little rock at a time, you know what I mean?
Right,
so,
and that's totally fine, that's fine.
So yeah, keep looking forward into the next years. I'm sure we're just gonna keep getting better at what we do, and who knows what's around the corner. There's going to be a new show maybe,
and I am very excited because I know the fall from Elvira was going to be a hard fall, and picking ourselves back up. I think they're going in the right direction. People really seem to like Pup It Up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they really seem to like Pup It Up, so obviously Pup It Up will probably be making a comeback. I'm really excited to see if they can just spread out that pasta a little bit more around it. So what is your current character's backstory? What is Beau's backstory? Where did he come from?
First I have to give credit where it's due. I watched my brother scare in Ghost Town for years. First year he was a wolf, but then the second year on Ghost Town streets he created this rooster. And I remember working at a theater with Ken, our current VP, and he was telling me how much he loved my brother's rooster. And his words were, "It's so simple, and it makes sense." Because it went back to the story. Nowadays, I feel like the park is really embracing of the Sarah Marshall curse and what it did. But I feel like there was a weird point where people hadn't forgotten, I would say, but they just... not everybody knew about it. And that's what my brother went back and he said, well, the manimal, bringing out your inner beast and your inner character, what that is. And after I saw the Mendana sisters scaring together in Carnival with these 2 characters that they had created, this light bulb went off, like, I could scare with my brother, And so I kept watching the rooster and I was like, what would I create that would make sense, And then he's got a chicken, what's another barn animal? So then I eventually went with the cow, and I just happen to love cows. And so then I said, well, Cow would be a lady, so I'd be a bull. And initially, some people were saying, well, they're not going to allow horns, you know, because that used to be a thing that they used to say, no horns anywhere in Ghost Town.
Okay.
And because, you know, the family was really conservative. Walter Knott's family was really against the idea of a haunt, you know, of a scary farm. But he went ahead and did it anyway, you know, so... and the other thing is, I think you have to be so crystal clear about your vision. Otherwise, they're only if all they're looking at are your horns, you didn't do a good job designing it. So I just went to basics and I said, how about a milk farmer who left his family business to pursue fame and fortune as a rodeo cowboy, and then on his first rodeo was bucked off and snapped his neck. You know, not dead, but paralyzed.
Okay.
And so that sort of guilt and the curse would probably have transferred him into a bull, a steer, something that he would have had to have taken care of in his living life, you know. But also, I think the curse works in strange and mysterious ways.
Yes.
That he wouldn't have the luxury of knowing who he was, and Sarah Marshall would have only left him with that guilt, you know, and that sort of the pain of, you did something wrong, you don't know what it was or who you are even, but that's what you're stuck with.
It's all the bad, just enough to drive you crazy because you don't know why. It makes you angry. Yeah.
And you have some interesting character connections too to other monsters.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is, you know, Ken always told us for Ghost Town Alive, he says, you know, let the guests write your backstory, you know, but that's during summertime. We don't have that luxury for a Scary Farm, but I always think, well, why don't I just let my other monsters write the backstory for me? You know, Harley Tanner had a burnt barn in her backstory. That's why her character is Singed, Torch. And then I had a burnt barn. My family farm burnt down. And then it wasn't until our third year working together that we finally decided, oh, like, they're family. That's his little sister. Because I know I had a little sister. And so this year, started to see those manifesting things. Any character that reminds Bo of his living life has sort of naturally worked themselves into actually having been somebody he crossed paths with. He was a huge, I guess, Goldie's favorite customer. That's not something I decided. That's something one of the saloon girls decided on. Yeah, this year, you know. and so, but that's great. I mean, because then it's this whole collaborative effort, you know. Right. He's very respectful to Goldie and the saloon girls. In fact, a little overprotective. Bo, yes. I guess I can say this. People, there's video proof of it. Bo choked out Merrick this year.
Wow.
Because he was messing around with the saloon girl.
Wow.
And it's crazy. He just like fell on the ground. This limp. And just this bull stare, like looking over him, slowly walking away, and
were you just kind of like, holy crap, that just happened, like behind the mask?
So the one thing that I will say about our good friend Merrick is him and I have an excellent Bluetooth. There's only been 3 moments out of the 3 years that we have been scaring that we had a moment, and there's this glimmer in the eye when we're doing it where we're sort of like, how far are we gonna go?
Right.
Are you good? Are we good? Is this good? Is it, you know? And I think it's having that kind of trust that if you hear it in your head and you're having that conversation, that's when you know it's okay to push a certain moment, because you know, what I really want to do is pick him up over my head and like tear his body in 2, but I don't think
maybe for the 50th.
What? Oh yeah.
Maybe for the 50th. We gotta save that.
We'll figure it out. That's a new doctor.
Yeah, right there.
I did witness some of the Bo Merrick fight, and it was terrifying. It was terrifying.
I gotta tell you, it is something, especially being of a certain height, knowing that the moment is starting and then seeing every guest around you just stop, because they don't want to get anywhere near it. You know, these monsters are already after you, but when a monster is after another monster,
it becomes a little weird.
It's just a little weird. What is this?
All right, let's move on. This is called a tam tam.
A tam tam?
This is from Australia.
Oh, down under, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Nice.
Exactly. Very good. So, while you're chewing, think about this. So, you said you choked Merrick out, which is amazing in my eyes because usually it's Merricking people and holding them down. But is that the most particular moment that stood out to you this season, or was there something else?
Oh, wow. There's too many of them, right? And
like, choose one.
well, me and Antha were of the same mind that we often forget a lot of what happens. We have to have other people remind us. I would probably say, if I'm gonna pick one moment, it's an arc of a moment, and it's when I finally decided to have business with Beau's sister, Torch, aka Violet Vine, because it's different every time. You know, she'd see me, and then he would stop, and then he'd reach out to her, and she'd reach out, and suddenly she would just do that scream,
Yeah.
like, ah! You know, that terrifying scream of hers, and then run away, and then he'd get upset or he'd get sad, and then he'd have this moment of until my Knott daughter brought those two together on like one of the last days, and then instead of the scream, it was one of those, like, she started to like look angry, and then she just went, you know, like, look what you did to me, because not a single word was spoken, you know, and then he just like was defeated. The 7-foot tall beast just defeated, you know, like looking, and she disappeared into the fog, and he was just standing there like so crippled. But then she came back. She came back from the fog, and then she reached out her hand very, very slowly, and then he reached out his and just
Like, hoofed a hand.
yeah, you know, and then she dragged it away, and then she disappeared. And then like a day or two later, she showed up again, you know, like in the middle of when he was doing his thing, and then she just put her hand on his like elbow, and then he turned around, and then she just went close and just put her head down next to his chest.
Did you cry? Because I'm crying right now.
I think because then he put his hoof on her head, and then he just lowered his head too. And then later that night, he taught her how to play fetch with the wolf.
Oh.
And gave her a little,
That
you
may
know,
have happened, yeah.
gave her a little, you know, like, this is what you do, and also taught her how to do some tilling with the pitchfork in the dirt, you know, like, this is how we.
10-foot pitchfork that you carry around.
Maybe the pitchfork is 10 feet tall.
Everything's 10 feet tall to me because I'm 5 feet.
So it's two of you make one bow staff.
That's right.
A bow staff.
What?
I felt like Darth Maul a lot of the times when I was like, you know, only when there was nobody around. You have to look around. Is there nobody here? Because it's from a distance that they see this creature.
What is that made of?
So the main part of it is cardboard.
Okay.
And what is that? Coat hanger as a very loose frame, and then cardboard wrapped around, and then duct tape.
Okay.
Oh, and some fabric. Some fabric, and it's all glued together, and if you shake it really hard, you can see it wobble. I usually do paper-based props because they always tell us something's safe, and I'm like, well, this would crumble if I stabbed it into the ground, you know, and I may have to rebuild it eventually, but it's all about what's safe out in the street, so.
Right, just in case. So what's your favorite scare tactic?
Yeah, it's actually nothing. And that sounds lame. I know. There's a lot of people that say, you know, well, because there's so many dynamic scares that you can do, but we are innately afraid of that which we do not understand. I don't talk because I was inspired by my dad who scares, and he doesn't talk, and he always said when we were growing up, the second a monster talks, that gives you a mode of communication with them. but if you don't talk, there's no way that you can know what they're thinking really, you know?
Right.
So sometimes it's when a person's just staring at you and all you have to do is
stare back and you're like, I have no idea what this dude's thinking right now.
Yeah.
that little shoulder thing. That's just enough. Just so they see there is life in this creature and it is, you know, it's thinking something, you know. And then what they do after that is sort of where the tactic goes. Sometimes they just want to circumnavigate around you and you just follow that. And it may not be the loudest scream, but then somebody else comes in and usually gets the scream because it can't just be blah, blah, blah. You have to have different levels of scare, and sometimes just having that sustained uneasiness that, you know, it's a weird tactic, but it's probably my favorite because it's hard to do nothing. I would rather keep moving, but the costume's a little heavy, and also when you stand still, it hurts. It actually, yeah, it hurts a lot to stand still, you know, to keep your arms out like this all the time, you know, like now I'm comfortable, but imagine just doing this for hours on end, you know,
tiring.
because it's big. So secondary to that, of course, if they see me and then they stop and then I see them turn around, then I take a couple steps and then I see them just fly
out. Oh my goodness.
Bye.
So what was the funniest moment of your haunt career? And I'm sure you have a million.
I know I don't.
Oh no.
I don't have a million, but there are just a couple I can count on my hands.
So choose two.
Two. Okay, I'll give you two. One, I've learned my lesson a long time ago that when you can't see in the fog, just stand still. Let it clear for a little bit because you don't want to run over any guest or a fellow monster, which I did in my first year on the streets. Sorry, Andros. Bounced right into his nose. Fog cleared. He was like, oh, that's not the moment. First year as the bull, I was just standing inside the fog, and Clayton, pre-Mayor Toad, just suddenly showed up in front of me, and he just goes, oh my God. And I hear it, and it was the first time I ever smiled in that face, and I was like, oh, this feels weird. Secondary time,
scaring the monster.
Monsters who scare monsters.
Yeah.
The bull and the chickens this year, there was a stretch of road we weren't allowed to scare on. So we'll put the staff like long ways, and then Rooster grabbed one side and Henrietta grabbed the other side. So we just moved as a wall. You know, we're not going to scare you, but we will move in character as this wall, and everybody just clear out away from us. And that was just sort of my idea, just to be an icebreaker and make them, you know, go around. But then for other monsters that were in the middle there, the chickens immediately lifted, and then we started going over some of them. And my favorite was in Main Street with Otis doing his thing. He just got done being Otis with somebody, and then he turned around just in time to see us going over him, and he just goes, yeah! And I was laughing. I was walking, I was like, and I could hear Talia, she's like, you know. So it's just me and my family, like, because we don't do a lot of shenanigans, you know. I've never been good at shenanigans. It's all about creepy for me, but on the rare occasion where I had a laugh, those got to be the top two.
Nice, man. Oh my gosh, to get Otis.
I can hear it. I can literally hear it.
He doesn't remember.
No.
I talked to him about it. He has no
recollection.
When you guys were doing that, I was actually hiding behind you, getting the people on the sides. When you were going in from Kmart into Birdcage, I was right behind you, just nailing everyone behind you.
I love that. Because at one point when we walked through, I think we walked through on Kmart, and I suddenly saw She-Wolf just get down, to observe what it was, and then I call that it's the ship in the Arctic breaking the ice, but then behind it there's all these Because I don't get to see everything that the monsters are doing behind me, but I hear everything you're doing, so good job.
Yeah. I was using you as a wall.
Use me.
We went from the funniest, so talk about one of the scariest moments of being a scare actor. I don't know. I mean, I don't know many scary moments for a 10-foot bull, but
and that's what I'm honestly trying to think about. Because my dad is my dad. He was also a scoutmaster, by the way, for my brother and I. My uncle was the Boy Scout leader, and my dad was a Cub Scout leader, and I feel like the motto of be prepared is kind of always the mantra. I don't know that I've ever had a moment where I stepped onto the street where I didn't feel
okay.
Oh, well now that I think it, maybe there was a couple years ago where there was just so many people on the street, and I was like, there are too many people here and they're getting too rowdy, and I can't remember the exact night or if there was a specific thing that was happening or if it felt like I couldn't move. There's one of those nights at least every single year, the Saturday before the Halloween.
Right.
But I do remember thinking like that was kind of strange, and I kind of want to leave,
Will you get pulled off? I mean, I know I feel it's kind of different for you because you can't move that fast. You're not like the she-wolf, you're not like the orphan or anything, and will the managers be like, hey dude, like you need to go off. It's
I think
not
that's
really
when we
safe
kind
for
of
you.
wrangle you a little bit.
Yeah, and I have this thing that popped up this year. Every tall needs a small, and that just goes for any heights. Is as much as a big intimidating character with any shorter character, because the she-wolf isn't small, but compared to a totem, or the bull, or then you do look a little, oh, there's a bigger wolf and a kind of smaller wolf, especially if one looks hunched. When you give levels, it does create a strengthening factor of people. But as much as the big person helps back up the little person for like intimidation factor, the little people who are quicker and faster are always protecting those who are bigger and slower, In Borderlands terms, I call it the badass class because they're huge, but at the same time, we can't turn on a dime. Well, I can, but you're right. We do rely on other people to help us out. And the nice thing is our managers don't, discriminate against size. Like if everyone's getting pulled regardless of your shape. So. But yeah, you're right. I do rely a lot on my smalls to, make sure that I'm okay.
Have you almost fallen?
Almost? I have.
Oh, no.
I have. And most of the time they're people just being jerks, And it's funny. One night I thought it was we had a small earthquake, and people said it was just enough of a,
Oh, okay.
You feel everything, by the way. A normal shoe, see how this bends?
Yeah.
Mine don't, when they're the blocks like that. And so you feel every little imperfection in the ground, every crack, every pebble. It's that mattress and the princess, the princess and the pea. Yeah, that's what it is. I feel every little. So I thought initially that jolt, was the thing that knocked me off my feet one day. I found out it was something else entirely, and Jen said, well, it's because you fell, we had an earthquake. But maintenance is so important. Maintenance is because there was this little girl, we call her Hazelnut, who visits the park. She's an annual pass holder with her dad, and she's a smart kid, and she saw me working with the blacksmith because I added these horseshoes to the front toe underneath the platform. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, well, the blacksmith made me these horseshoes and we're going to attach them to the bottom here and this is how they're going to attach. And she said, so that's one whole shoe? I said, yeah. I said, this is what we call a spat. I've got a fur spat that goes over it that I can replace, and it opens up with Velcro. And as soon as I opened it up, I saw that this top part of the shoe had separated from the bottom block. Not on this side, but just enough that it was doing a sideways thing. And I just looked at it and I told her, Hazelnut, you just saved my life. And I immediately got a roll of duct tape and glued it on there. And so it's, you don't realize all the stomping, you know, and those are already my second set. The first pair of platforms I had were a heel. So imagine sort of like high heels, you know, like where your foot is arched, you know. I did my first season like that. Second one, I love my shoes so much better because they're flat, and then I added the no skid, no slick, you know, tread to the bottom of that. But I've definitely fallen a couple of times, and it's always been an accident, you know, just not because I'm clumsy. It's because I have to be super safe, but it's usually because someone's just they think they're being funny, and then they run in front of me or clip my leg or whatever. But we're well padded, so I get knocked down and I get up again, and then I scare the ever-living daylights out of them.
Right, you just become a raging bull. Just like,
yeah, that's kind of the thing.
All right, so let's move on to our next snack. And you said you liked me.
It's okay, it's
told
healthy.
You it was gonna get a little weird. This dark chocolate has 92%
This is
cacao.
black cocoa from Ghirardelli.
Pretty much.
I recognize this. My father is a fan of this, and so I've never tried black before.
Oof. It's probably very bitter.
Wow. He's a fan of this?
My father, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dad, he loves a dark
Your
chocolate.
dad's a man.
Oh my god, if I could get a sound clip of his howl right there. Yeah, it's an old man howl.
Wow.
Do
Do you need another root beer?
Possibly. Because to wash this all out, Father, I don't know how do you do this. You know, it's funny. He wasn't there on the final night, and if I could have swung it, I would have dressed up as the wolf for just a night. Because you know, that was my brother's mask first.
Ah.
That was his character first, his first year, and then when he disbanded it, then my dad took it. So one night, I like to be the wolf. Just one night, run around. And then the whole family's done it.
That'd be awesome. All right, so we got some fan questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
As you're working through that.
Oh.
Woo. It was okay. It was healthy, but dang.
Like, you're making him snore, honey. It's
Look
start raining
at
in
this.
here. Our room's red. I know.
You know, grow out of the head. Mm.
So, the Knights of Horror ask, what is something you do to get in the zone for haunt each day?
I walk through the gate.
That's it?
Well, yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah.
from backstage on stage, I walk through the gate and then I'm in my zone. Yeah, no, so, yeah, and somebody I think asked me, like on Instagram stories or something, how long does it take you to get in a character? I said like 0.05 seconds. The second I step onto the stage, that's what it takes. I know some people have a ritual. I kind of don't. I know the costume does a lot of it already, and it tells me who I am, but it's just a matter of getting on stage, because you have to be able to turn it off. I have to be able to turn it off as easily as I turn it on, because the second I get backstage, I'm just like,
Tired.
oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
And I need to calm down. I can't be backstage scaring other people. That's a different story.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So everything has something that scares them, and we're doing a chocolate challenge.
Okay.
These are chocolate crickets.
Oh, cool.
So bottoms up, sir.
Bottoms up. Bugs don't really taste like anything.
You know, you're kind of becoming a pro at this whole cricket thing.
Is that a thing for you? You
No,
don't-
but this is the 6th interview, so I've had about 6 crickets.
Oh,
You know.
I'll have 5 more to catch up with you.
No, it's all good.
No, you save them for the other people, I'm sure.
I have an entire bag, sir.
Oh.
You can take those home if you want. Because I'm done with them after this day. But Thrash, what scares you?
in a haunt capacity, not like in a real life
I
capacity.
mean, it could be real.
No, well, and I think I said it earlier. We are all innately afraid of that which we do not understand. For the purposes of a so we don't have an hour-long discussion about it. For the purposes of haunts and scares, I'll steal a quote from Matthew Milk. Of his Candyman, he said, "I made the thing that I was afraid of." I always think that we do the best scares that we're afraid of. The thing that we're afraid of is the thing that we do really well. And there's two things. I'm afraid of creatures that are bigger than me, that have the ability to either pick me up over their head and tear my body in half,
which is what you want to do,
or a creature that is so big that can swallow my entire body and fit the entirety of me in its mouth. You know, there's a couple creatures like that.
Like
in
a
some
megalodon.
Yeah!
I don't know.
Yeah! No! There's a great white shark in the depths, and that thing comes out. And there's this
Are you afraid of that?
Oh! Get it away from me! And there's this other thing in Paranormal Inc. This big old, and I'm like, no, it's I don't care where they placed it. And it's funny because when I see the whole thing, it's fine. But when I just see that face, when I see that mouth pop out of it, like, no. Or what was the other thing that got me this past year? The huge creature with the hands and the hair in Shadowlands.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She just came out of nowhere.
The demon.
Yeah, you know. So that the big creatures, and the secondary thing that really gets me are victim scares. People in peril.
Okay.
People who are begging for help, and you can't do anything.
So you went through Waxworks this year, did you not? And what did you think of the girl that? What did you think of the girl that was like in the vat? In the vat. Yeah.
It's debilitating, is what it is, because I can't do anything.
No.
I can't do a single thing but watch this person in pain. And I can go on about all of these scares that I've seen. The first one I ever saw was in a saw maze. You know, this girl was getting her scalp ripped off, and she just screamed at me. She's, "Help me!" And immediately I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, "I'm sorry," you know, I had to, because I was being pushed through the next part of the maze. You know, can't do. I mean, I can do it, obviously. Somewhere in my mind, there's a fail-safe of, you know, it's for entertainment. Otherwise, if it wasn't, then I would be the person rushing in there to actually do something about it. It's, ugh.
Right on. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So to wrap this up, we're gonna play a little game.
I'm gonna play a game.
Yes. Speaking of Saw, called 2 Truths and 1 Lie.
Oh.
So here's how it's gonna go. You're gonna tell me 2 truths and 1 lie. These are Bean Boozled jelly beans.
Bean Boozled jelly beans.
Have you ever heard of these?
I don't know.
Okay, so
I'm sorry in advance.
you're gonna tell me 2 truths and 1 lie. I'm gonna try to guess what the lie is. If I guess right, you have to choose one of these cups. If I get it wrong, then I have to choose one of these cups. This is either a peach flavored jelly bean or a booger flavored jelly bean.
All right. Okay.
All right, so take your time.
Do they have to be haunt related?
They don't have to be haunt related. People have gone whatever they wanted to. Just if it's a truth, just know that it's going to be on film.
Okay.
So know if it's going to be released into the public.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I did see this, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I should." I thought I had 3 immediately, and now that I'm sitting here thinking about them, I'm like, "Oh." And I think what's throwing me off is earlier in the evening. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. No, it's okay. I already said that my first night of.
I probably forgot.
Well, my first night of not scary. My first night of work was my first night of Scary Farm.
Yes.
You know, so okay, I've got 3.
All right.
Okay.
2 truths, 1 lie. Here we go.
Okay. I've done burlesque.
Okay.
Okay. I actually got to perform on a cruise line, and I actually was in The Hanging.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with the cruise line is the lie.
Yeah, that's a lie. So it's a lie. Very good.
That's what I would have chosen.
Take your pick, sir.
All right, let's go with you.
You didn't even try it out yet. No. Is it peach or booger?
It tastes pretty fruity.
You might have gotten
Alright,
lucky.
so you got the...
Unless I've had boogers that are fruity.
Right on.
I should try the other one.
They could be peach too, or it could be a burger.
I just don't like jelly beans.
It's like they're both bad.
They all taste like
They all
boogers.
taste bad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like,
Me neither, but it's a fun.
are you
one
sure there was a
to
difference?
play. There might not have been. They don't tell me what the flavors are. They just all look alike, so I have to choose.
So you could get 2 of the same flavor that look the same, and now there's 2 boogers sitting in that box now
There you go.
for later.
Okay.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for being on the show,
Thank
sir.
you.
You
Oh my
are
gosh.
amazing. I love seeing you in the fog. That 10-foot silhouette looks amazing on our videos.
But we love the bowl and the
If you
videos.
like this video, smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more spooky content. And always be ready, because you never know where your compass will take you. Bye, guys.
Bye.